Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Senate Education Committee. Today is Wednesday, April 28, and we're very happy to be here. We like to call the roll for this meeting.
Chairperson Cano.
Here.
Senator Gallo.
Present.
Senator Quesada.
Here.
Senator De Palma.
Here.
Senator Paulino.
Senator Felag.
Senator Pearson.
Here.
Senator Seveny. Madam Chair, we have 7 members. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clark. At this time, I'd like to let members of the committee and members of the public know that we're going to have a little switch in the agenda. So we're going to be starting our agenda today with Senate Bill 636 by Senator Pearson, and that related to education, the Rhode Island Hope Scholarship Act. Senator Pearson?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you to members of the committee for allowing me to introduce this today. I'm really excited, actually, to have the opportunity to talk about this bill today. This we've named the Hope Scholarship. It would be a scholarship at Rhode Island College that would allow students to receive their final 2 years at Rhode Island College tuition free. We know how important higher education is to our state's economic recovery and long-term health. And just in the last few years, we've been able to work on the Promise program at CCRI that we have seen have great outcomes. And we continue to want to encourage more and more Rhode Islanders to seek higher education. It is without question that the Promise program has encouraged more Rhode Island high school seniors to attend college, to know that they can attend college, know that the financial barrier is not there. And we really want to begin to think about how do we transform that successful program into one that also is growing another flagship institution for us, and that is Rhode Island College. As we think about Rhode Island College, Rhode Island College is by far the most affordable and attainable 4-year degree in the state of Rhode Island. We have a long history at Rhode Island College of producing nurses and social workers, teachers, business owners, accountants, a ton of professions that require a 4-year degree and that are all well-paying, good-paying jobs. And so we absolutely want to make sure that we continue to do that. And we absolutely need to make sure that we, one, have the opportunities available for those students, but then two, also make sure that we have a valid strategy in Rhode Island College and in our overall educational attainment goals for the state. It is no doubt Rhode Island College has seen some financial hits as more students enrolled at CCRI because of Promise. And this is an opportunity, I think, that we have to continue to promote Rhode Island College as a great 4-year institution. I'd also say Rhode Island College is one of the places where I mentioned the most affordable and most attainable education in Rhode Island, but I also should say the most accessible. Its location in our state, it serves so many population-wise. We have seen Rhode Island College just since 2011. They've over doubled their enrollment of Latino students. And they continue to serve a series of underserved communities throughout our state that are all critical and important to make sure that we continue to grow our state and grow the workforce that we have. And we know that is what every business is going to need. So I'm really excited about this bill. When Rep. Amore and I were collaborating on it, we really felt that, having the opportunity for these students to be able to achieve these degrees at this rate really represented hope for the state. And we wanted to make sure that hope was part of this, and that's why we sort of call it the Hope Scholarship. So we're very excited for this, excited to have the opportunity to be here today. I know President Sanchez from Rhode Island College is going to testify a little bit later, and I know others as well who know far more about the college than I do, but certainly happy to take any questions or comments from members of the committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Pearson. Really appreciate your testimony and your leadership when it comes to this bill. It is a very important bill, and I would agree with you that Rhode Island College is an amazing, facility, has good facilities, and a great education could be attained from this college, and we should be supporting it. So thank you for allowing me to sponsor your legislation as well. Does any members of the committee have any questions or comments for Senator Pearson? Senator 70.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to make mention that I'm class of 1976, back in the days when it cost $500 per semester. Great education and no student debt.
That is amazing to hear, Senator 70. And not only that, look, you ended up now here trying to support other students, become like you. So that's really awesome. Any other comments or questions for Senator Pearson?
Madam Chair, just a question.
Senator De Palma.
So, Chairman, thank you for bringing the bill forward. Just to confirm for everyone, if you participated in All I Promise, you would not be allowed to participate. It's neither or. Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an either or, Senator. That's a great question. And you would be required to enroll at RIC, remain on track and on time with 60 credits earned by the end of your second year, and also maintain a minimum GPA and complete your graduation within 4 years. We're all really important goals that we have for Rhode Island College and making sure we're preparing students. So, that you'd not be able to double dip. You'd be able to choose, you're looking for a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree based on the education that you need for the career that you want, and be able to benefit equally on either side of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Palma. Does any other members of the committee have a question or a comment for Senator Pearson? That being none, we will begin our testimony on this bill. And the first person that we have signed up to testify is Wendy Becker from the Rhode Island College Social Work Development Program. Wendy, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Chair Cano and members of the Senate Committee on Education. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm testifying in my capacity as the chair of the undergraduate social work program at Rhode Island College to voice strong support of the Hope Scholarship. I thank Rep. Pearson and his co-sponsors, Chair Cano and Vice Chair Gallo, for their advocacy in helping our students graduate college and become innovators and leaders in the field and in the state. I have taught at RIC for more than 20 years. What makes my job a joy is our incredible students. They are often first-generation college students with busy lives in multiple roles as parents, workers, and learners. They're balancing their needs and responsibilities with little room for unexpected financial difficulty, as many hold low-wage jobs while attending school. They are living at or near poverty, and their costs are simply greater than their incomes, even though they work long hours at multiple jobs. I have a food pantry in my office in non-COVID times, as many of my students simply can't afford to feed themselves. Financial insecurity is a reality for too many. In spite of financial circumstances, I've seen students change their lives with degrees from RIC. The same student who hoped another student would bring a big bag of carrots so she wouldn't feel bad taking some is now a master's level clinician with a private practice. Another is a clinical director at a youth service organization. Another is an adjunct professor at RIC. But I have also known excellent students with incredible potential who started at RIC and could not finish. They simply couldn't find the resources to do so and had to pay the rent or the electric bill or childcare or groceries, leaving them without the opportunity to educate themselves out of poverty. The Hope Scholarship could truly be life-changing. It could help students finish college and help others believe they could attend in the first place. I urge you to pass it, and thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for your testimony. At this time, I welcome any comments or questions from any committee member. That being none, we would like to then go for the next person that signed up to testify is President Frank Sanchez from Rhode Island College. President, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Cano, members of the Committee on Education. I thank you so much for giving me a few minutes this evening. I'm here today certainly to express my full support of Senate Bill 636, which of course proposes to establish the Hope Scholarship. You know, throughout this past year, Rhode Islanders have demonstrated an incredibly tenacious spirit, resilience, and determination to get through this year. In addition to navigating the impact of a global pandemic, our students take on an assortment of responsibilities to make ends meet, working 1 and even 2 jobs to pay their way through college. Our students are often responsible for caring for their loved ones and fulfilling significant obligations on top of their academic coursework. But through it all, you know, RIC students have proven the grit and determination that countless first-generation college students have demonstrated over the years. In fact, today, nearly half of RIC students are the first in their family to attend college, and most of them have income levels of the state's blue-collar and working-class families. And their goal is simply to be bold in their endeavors and to succeed in life, advancing their communities and those of their families. More than 70% of our graduates remain in the state after graduation. These Rhode Islanders, of course, are the nurses, the educators, the social workers, small business owners, and yes, even elected leaders who came to RIC with the hope of a future that would allow them to build careers, start families, and improve their community. Today, I'm here on behalf of past, current, and future RIC families to express my support on behalf of the legislation proposed by Senator Ryan Pearson to establish the Rhode Island Hope Scholarship. Just 2 short years ago, I appeared before the legislature advocating on behalf of a similar measure. And as I prepared for my testimony today, I recognize and celebrate the state's commitment to promoting 2-year degrees and certificates. The proposal before you tonight is quite different. This proposal is about 4-year degree persistence, attainment, and completion. Quite simply, the Hope Scholarship will provide a path towards economic prosperity and social mobility for all Rhode Islanders. As written, the proposal would require Rhode Island students to enroll shortly after high school graduation as freshmen at Rhode Island College, fund the first 2 years of their education, maintain a minimum 2.5 GPA, earn 60 credit hours towards a declared major within 2 years, and remain on track and on time to graduate within 4 years. The earned scholarship becomes available only after a student has demonstrated clear academic progress and has skin in the game financially. Most importantly, it places the hope and aspiration of a better future within reach for those who are willing to work hard and play by the rules. The combined in-state tuition and fees for a 4-year college degree at Rhode Island College costs approximately $40,000. Students who would qualify for the Hope Scholarship will have invested roughly $20,000 towards their 4-year degree, making RIC one of the most affordable 4-year institutions in the nation. As the country debates how to address national student loan debt, an investment such as the Hope Scholarship would only further cement Rhode Island as a leader on educational attainment. Recently, the U.S. News and World Report ranked Rhode Island College number 2 for social mobility among all public colleges and universities in New England, and Money Magazine ranked RIC among the top 10 best value colleges among medium and small institutions. With the Hope Scholarship, Rhode Islanders will incur less debt, making home ownership and economic prosperity within reach. Most importantly, Senate Bill 636 ensures Rhode Islanders are able to gain access, persist, and finish their college degree. During my time at RIC, I've heard from countless students who are working to make ends meet and pay for their way through college. By providing an earned scholarship, we can both recognize their academic achievement while also alleviating the burden and anxiety of student financial debt. Each year, hundreds of students in academic good standing stop out, drop out, or otherwise leave Rhode Island College without completing their degree. Now, there are a number of factors that play into students' decisions to halt their education, but we know from experience that financial constraints are the leading barrier for a student completing their college degree. Rhode Island College is Rhode Island's college. Our student body is a reflection of Rhode Island's increasingly diverse population. I'm proud to share with this committee that RIC is now a federally designated Hispanic Serving Institution, or HSI, serving an undergraduate student body comprised of over 25% Hispanic students. More so, some 40% of our students are students of color and hail from every city and town across this great state. As our state emerges from the impacts of COVID-19, I recognize the significance of the policy and financial decisions that you face, including how to best support Rhode Islanders both in the immediate and long term. Education is, and it will continue to be, the most significant influencer of economic development. If we're going to succeed as a state, we must invest in our greatest asset, our people. Nearly 90% of our undergraduate students are Rhode Island residents. For every dollar you invest in their education, you are directly investing in the overall success of the Ocean State. Looking ahead, the majority of jobs in Rhode Island will require a four-year degree in the state's fastest-growing industries like healthcare, technology, data, business, and entrepreneurship. Rhode Island College is a driving force in the talent pipeline for workforce development in the state, and by investing in RIC students, we don't have to recruit out-of-state talent when the talent exists right here. This past fall, RIC launched its Be Bold marketing campaign, capturing the resilience and determination represented by each and every student enrolled at Rhode Island College. I ask you to join me by supporting Rhode Islanders through an investment such as the Hope Scholarship, and let's be bold together. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much, President, for your testimony today and for your leadership, providing life-changing opportunities for the students. And you're right, the Hope Scholarship is specifically what you said, an investment to the success of our students. I also like to take the opportunity to say congratulations on the federal designation of the Hispanic Serving Institution. It really is amazing to hear that you have around 25% of Hispanic students, but also overall, students of colors really choose Rhode Island College as the institution to make sure that they attain and complete their degree. I also like to say that I really particularly want to highlight something that you said about the importance of the investment connected to the economic development and success of the Ocean State. I really appreciate those remarks, and I just want to say thank you to you and your staff for a great job. At this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the committee have any questions, comments for President Sanchez. There being none, thank you so much, President, for your testimony today.
Great, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to welcome the next person that signed up to testify in support of this legislation, Paige Close Sparks from Rhode Island Kids Count. Paige, welcome to Senate Education Committee.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. Rhode Island Kids Count would like to voice its support for this bill, Senate Bill 636. And we would also like to thank Senator Pearson and all the co-sponsors for your leadership on this legislation. As many of you know, Rhode Island Kids Count is the lead convener of the Rhode Island Alliance for College and Career Readiness. And the Alliance identifies and advocates for legislative and regulatory changes and budgetary investments needed to increase college and career readiness and access, and to address racial, ethnic, and income disparities. We strongly support this proposal because increasing the percentage of Rhode Islanders with a college degree is vital to the future of our young people and our state's economy. Between 2019 and 2029, it's projected that jobs requiring a post-secondary degree or certificate are projected to grow faster than jobs requiring less education, yet currently only 36% of Rhode Island adults have a bachelor's degree or higher. Many students, especially our low-income students, face barriers to college enrollment and success, such as insufficient academic preparation, which I know this committee is spending a lot of time in trying to improve, difficulty navigating the application and financial aid process, and the high cost of college. My written testimony includes a chart that describes more about the immediate college enrollment for the class of 2018 in Rhode Island. The chart shows that 67% of Rhode Island students who graduated in the class of 2018 immediately enrolled in college, but there's a large gap in access, particularly for four-year college enrollment between low and higher income students. Disparities in immediate college enrollment by income and race has only increased significantly because of the pandemic, which is jeopardizing the equity gains that we've worked so hard to achieve. Nationally, 76% of households with college-bound children changed their plans for higher education because of the pandemic. And 53% of students reported their plans changed because they couldn't afford the tuition anymore. The financial stability, academic performance, and educational plans of many college students, especially for students of color, were impacted by the pandemic. And Black and Hispanic college students were more likely than white students to report the pandemic impacted their ability to complete their degree. The Rhode Island Hope Scholarship is likely to increase the percentage of low-income students and students of color enrolled at RIC and make a four-year college experience accessible. We do urge the committee to consider a revision to this bill that would allow students with disabilities to participate in the Rhode Island Hope Scholarship Program with reasonable accommodations that can include part-time study, and to also consider an income limit as a means of targeting resources to students in the greatest financial need. We know that affordability is not the only barrier to increasing college enrollment, but it surely is a truly important one. And thank you so much for your leadership in introducing this legislation. That concludes my testimony. I'm also happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paige, for your testimony and for your suggestion on the amendment of the bill. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions for Paige. That being done, we really appreciate you calling in today.
Thank you.
Next person that has signed up to testify has been Robert Marshall from the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. Mr. Marshall, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you, Chairperson Cano and members of the Senate Committee on Education. I'll be brief. Some of what I was planning on saying was just said, so I'll just restate it slightly, and I did put in written testimony. I'm here on behalf of the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council, and the Council respectfully requests that while you are considering this great bill to establish the Rhode Island Hope Scholarship, you also consider adding language, as was just suggested, to address the need for some students with disabilities to receive reasonable accommodations. We've seen with the Rhode Island Promise Scholarship that students with disabilities may require accommodations both upon application and while attending and completing their college courses. And that has caused some problems with that program. In fact, we found out today that just tomorrow, the Speaker is going to amend into his bill that is going to eliminate the sunset on the Promise Scholarship, the exact language that we're talking about here today. So we ask that you do the same. The language you're suggesting is in my written testimony. Be happy to take any questions or to work with whoever's redrafting on language. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall, for your testimony, and your suggestion is well noted. We indeed have received your written testimony with the suggested change. Really appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to welcome any members of the committee for any questions or comments for Mr. Marshall. That being done, thank you so much for calling. Next person that has signed up to testify on support of this legislation is James Parisi from the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals. James, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Chair and committee members. The Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals gladly supports Senate Bill 636, and we appreciate Senator Pearson's sponsorship of the bill. The bill is an important priority for my organization. We support it for a lot of different reasons, but let me just offer a few because I know you've heard a lot of good data already. First of all, from the perspective of the thousands of public school teachers we represent, this bill provides a significant financial incentive for high school graduates to continue their education and obtain a bachelor's degree. It's the main reason we supported the Rhode Island Promise in its original iteration that included both RIC as well as CCRI. And quite frankly, it's why we continued supporting the Rhode Island Promise program, even though it was restricted to CCRI, because it was a good opportunity for high school graduates to further their education. We think this is a great program. It's a program that, as President Sanchez described, requires merit, requires work, that students are invested in earning this benefit, provided they maintain their 2.5 GPA, earn at least the 60 credits in order to become eligible. This is not a freebie. This is not a program that lacks incentive. It's an incentive for students to engage in higher education, but also work towards that all-important degree. One of the big reasons why we support this bill is because this bill supports Rhode Island College. My union represents 3 different groups of workers on the campus: the faculty, the professional staff, and the adjunct staff. And on their behalf, we've advocated for years now to increase the state support for public higher education. We think that there was some impact on the RIC campus for the program being limited to the Promise program being limited to CCRI the last couple of years, and this bill would address that issue. But there's been a large detrimental impact to RIC by the overall lack of state support for public higher education. Rhode Island ranks pretty low on those markers, and this program, with the money attached to it, would increase state support for Rhode Island College, but in a way that benefits students and encourages college completion. So for those reasons and a myriad of other ones, we support the bill, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pearson, for your testimony today. And at this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the committee has any questions or comments. That being none, thank you so much for calling in today.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Michaela Muriel Lemonck Arthur from the Committee on Political Education of the Rhode Island College faculty in support of the legislation. Welcome to Senate Education Committee.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm Dr. Michaela Muriel Lemonck Arthur, chair of the Department of Sociology at Rhode Island College and a member of the executive committee of our faculty union. And I'm speaking today in support of the Hope Scholarship Act S636, both on my own personal behalf and as a representative of our Committee on Public Education. The Hope Scholarship Program is a vital investment that will make an important difference for the young people of Rhode Island and for our state's future. Too many promising students see college attendance as unattainable or begin college, do well in their first few semesters, and find themselves in economic straits that cause them to drop out, leaving them without the opportunity to build better futures for themselves, their families, and their communities. According to the National Student Clearinghouse, less than a third of students who start at CCRI complete a degree at any institution, while among students who begin at a public four-year institution in Rhode Island, over 75% do. This is consistent with national data that shows that students who begin at community colleges are far less likely to earn degrees, even if they intend to transfer to a four-year college, than are students who begin at four-year institutions. Thus, while the Rhode Island Promise program has provided an incredible and invaluable opportunity for students in Rhode Island who otherwise would never have thought college was an option for them, the data suggests that Rhode Island Promise may have reduced students' likelihood of achieving a bachelor's degree. Furthermore, research clearly shows that bachelor's degree attainment makes the biggest difference in economic outcomes and other benefits for both students and our broader community. Students who complete a bachelor's degree earn, on average, about $20,000 more per year than students who complete an associate's degree, and they're more likely to be employed as well. Increasing the percentage of people in a region who have a four-year college degree raises average wages in the community, increases tax revenues, and improves health outcomes and civic participation. The Hope Scholarship Program can make the difference. It can help students who worry about the cost of college make the decision to begin their college careers at Rhode Island College, a decision that will lead to a far greater likelihood of completing a bachelor's degree, earning a living wage, and building a better future for themselves and their families. It can reduce the number of students who run into economic roadblocks on their way to completing their degrees and thus increase timely graduation, helping students move into the workforce faster and further reducing the opportunity cost of higher education. It can ensure that Rhode Island's employers have a steady stream of well-prepared college graduates ready to fulfill the demands of today's workforce, thus contributing to the economic development of our state. As a faculty member and department chair at Rhode Island College, I talk to real students every day who face the obstacles I've just noted. I see students who have to take a semester off because they've run out of money. I see students who wanted to start college at Rhode Island College but could not afford it and thus have wasted time and financial resources pursuing associate's or technical degrees that don't actually help them compete in the job market. I see students working 3 jobs just to pay their bills. The Hope Scholarship Program can change their futures. Please enact this legislation both for current and future students and help us build a better tomorrow for our students and for Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony today, Doctor. I really appreciate you calling in, and also thank you for your perspective tonight. Do you have any questions or comments for Dr. Michaela, any members of the committee? That being none, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next person that we would like to call to testify in support is Dr. Eric Christian from the Rhode Island College Faculty Union in support of the legislation. Welcome, Dr. Eric.
Hi, thank you, Chair Cano, members of the committee, and a special thanks to Senator Pearson for putting the HOPE Act forward. I'm speaking as president of the RIC AFT, representing the more than 300 faculty members in RIC's full-time faculty union. I'm guessing you've gotten the point from President Sanchez and from my colleagues, so I'll try to be brief. Every faculty member at RIC knows how much our students have to work to keep themselves in school, and in many cases to help support their families. And 4 years is a long time to juggle work and school and life commitments. And as you've already heard, far too many of our really hardworking and excellent students have to give up on their degrees before they're able to finish them. And I want to echo what's been said before. I mean, these are really good students with promising lives, careers ahead of them. Most of our grads, as you know, live and work, raise their kids in Rhode Island. But as the burden of paying for college has shifted from the public to individual students over the past few decades, it's become too much for them to bear in many cases. This bill doesn't propose to solve all of that, and it also won't fix the deficit created by the governor's proposed budget for RIC, but it at least offers some hope to Rhode Island students. And I think just as importantly, it sends a very clear message to young Rhode Islanders that if they demonstrate a serious commitment to their own education, then the community, the state, will step in with some support to help them to finish their degrees. And so RIC faculty wholeheartedly endorse this legislation, and I certainly hope that you will too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony today. We really support what the faculty members do as well. Thank you for supporting the students at RIC. We really, really appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to welcome any questions or comments from members of the committee. That being none, thank you so much for your calling. This has been the last person that signed up to testify in support of this legislation. I just also like to note for members of the public that we have received various pieces of greeting support as well for this legislation from Rhode Island Kids Count, Blackstone Valley Prep, ACOU Rhode Island, and the people that have already stated, the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council, and Dr. Michaela Mariel Lemonic Arthur, in support of the legislation. At this time, I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold, moved by Senator De Palma, second by Senator Gallo. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator De Palma?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson? Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 7 in the affirmative.
And this legislation has been moved to held for further study, as we have some people that have testified and say that they would like to have some amendments to the legislation. At this time, I'd like to take on Senate Bill 286 by Senator Pearson, and that related to education curriculum. Senator Pearson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. This actually is a bill that we have previously passed. This was part of the overall education reform initiatives in 2019, spearheaded by our own Senator Gallo at the time. And we worked on a series of opportunities to really, one of the key things that we wanted to do across those reforms was to really restructure RIDE as one of a compliance and reporting organization and into one more that's actually supported schools, get out into schools and districts and help them. This legislation would codify that into law, requiring RIDE to get out there to assist schools with their budgets, with their instruction, with their curriculum across the board, and was actually developed in collaboration with superintendents, assistant superintendents, and curriculum coordinators in the state. And so we passed this before. Hopefully the House will see the wisdom to do so and look forward to getting this out in the future.
Thank you so much, Senator Pearson. Does any member of the committee have any questions or comments for Senator Pearson? That being none, I also like to let members of the public know that we don't have anybody that has signed up to testify on this bill, so I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold made by Senator Pearson, seconded by Senator De Palma. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator De Palma?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 7 in the affirmative.
Thank you, and the bill has been moved to hold for further study. At this time, I'd like to welcome Senator Sosnowski bills, Senate Bill number 700, an act related to education, the University of Rhode Island. Senator Sosnowski, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. I've been listening to the testimony. I find the Education Committee extremely exciting and fascinating to listen to all the testimony and on the bills. S700 I have introduced at the request of the University of Rhode Island. This act would allow the Board of Trustees at the University of Rhode Island to make small procurements up to $50,000 for construction and $10,000 for all other purchases pursuant to small purchase regulations promulgated by the board. The purchasing thresholds may be increased annually by the board to reflect annual increases in the Federal Consumer Price Index published by the United States Department of Labor. I believe there are folks from the university to testify, Madam Chair. But I would be glad to try to answer any questions of the committee if there are any for me.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sosnowski. I actually do have a question in regards to the procurements and constructions projects. I just wanted to know if these would include the minority business enterprise, women enterprise, 10% out of the total construction projects. I'm not sure if you do know that. We can get back to that, but I'd love to know if that is included in this proposal.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know that. I'd be glad to answer that, look into that and answer that. But perhaps the folks from URI could answer that. But if not, I will definitely look into that for you and get you an answer for you in the committee.
Really appreciate it, Chairwoman. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions from members of the committee for Chairwoman Sosnowski. That being known, as Chairwoman had stated, we do have someone that has signed up to testify on behalf of the University of Rhode Island, Abigail Ryder, in support of the legislation. Welcome, Abigail, to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Abigail Ryder, Vice President for Administration and Finance for the University of Rhode Island, and I'm testifying in favor of Senate Bill S700. Thank you for your consideration of this important bill requested by the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees this season. Thank you, Chairwoman Sosnowski, for sponsoring this legislation. We are requesting that the university's thresholds for requiring a formal public bid process be raised to $50,000 for construction and $10,000 for all other purchases, and that the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees have the authority to increase these thresholds by the increase in the Consumer Price Index from time to time. URI competes nationally and internationally for students, faculty, sponsored research, athletics, and much more, and serves as a magnet drawing intellectual and economic capital to Rhode Island. In order to compete effectively with other research universities across the country, the university needs to be nimble and efficient in its business processes. Title 37-222 currently establishes that construction purchases over $10,000 and all other purchases over $5,000 by state and public agencies must be made with a formal bid process, which can easily take from 30 to as much as 120 days if all runs smoothly. A public bid process is a sound practice designed to ensure that the state gets competitive pricing on its purchases. However, it involves a lot of work for the vendor, who often builds the considerable cost of preparing a formal bid into the pricing. Thus, while a good practice for an appropriately sized transaction, requiring a formal bid process on purchases that are too small can achieve the opposite of the desired result, because the effort of preparing a bid is disproportionate to the size of the transaction and the profit the vendor could realize. For the university, it creates delays on routine purchases and discourages vendors from doing business with the university. This is inefficient and expensive in both labor and time. On the construction side, given the high cost of construction in New England, it means that virtually every project, even the most mundane of repairs, must go through the competitive bid process, causing extra costs and very long timelines to complete the work. Our peer land-grant institutions have the following thresholds for requiring a public bid. University of New Hampshire, $35,000. University of Connecticut, University of Maine, and University of Massachusetts, $50,000. University of Vermont, $100,000. Rutgers University and the University of Maryland, $200,000. University of Delaware, $250,000. Many research universities of comparable size to URI, including Brown, Boston University, Colorado State, New York University, University of California at Davis, Yale, Harvard, MIT, and Princeton, have thresholds of $100,000 or higher for requiring a formal bid process. Finally, the federal uniform guidance sets the threshold for a public bid at $250,000 for expenditure of federal research grant dollars. We request your support of this proposed change so that the university may remain competitive with its peers. I thank the chair and the committee members for considering this legislation and welcome any questions.
Thank you so much, Abigail, for your testimony today. I'm not sure if you heard the question that I did ask Chairwoman Sosnowski in regards to how would you be able to include minority business enterprise, woman business enterprise within this proposal? Would you still maintain the 10% mandated, threshold to make sure that you will give out, even through construction or the procurement, you will give out some purchases to the minority business enterprise, woman business enterprise? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I'd like to know if you have considered that.
Yes, we have considered that. The Board of Trustees has the power to write regulations for purchases that are not subject to the state regulations, and we're very supportive of minority businesses and women-owned enterprises. So I anticipate that the board will put in place the same kinds of goals and requirements that exist currently, because it's a stated goal of the university.
So that's great to hear, and really appreciate you answering that question. At this time, I'd like to welcome any members of the committee. If you have any questions or comments for Abigail. That being none, thank you so much for your testimony today.
Thank you so much. Thanks to you, Madam Chair, and the members of the committee.
So So at this time, that was the only person that have signed up in support of the legislation today, and that would conclude the testimony on this specific bill. I'd like to entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to
So
hold
moved.
made by Senator De Palma and Gallo, seconded by Senator Quesada. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano,
Yes.
Senator Gallo,
Yes.
Senator Quesada,
Yes.
Senator De Palma,
Yes.
Senator Paulino, Senator Pearson,
Yes.
Senator Seveny.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 7 in the affirmative.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clerk. This legislation has moved for further study. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Sosnowski, for your testimony today.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Senator Lawson to the committee, and we're going to take Senate Bill 460, an act related to education, Teachers Retirement, Title 16, Chapter 97, the Rhode Island Board of Education Act. Senator Lawson, welcome to Senate Education Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman Cano. Good afternoon, members of the committee. So this bill is pretty straightforward. It would increase the number of days that retirees could sub from 90 to 120. So really,
Senator, how you doing tonight?
reason.
Good, how are you?
Very good. I'm in education. That's got to cover my
Senator
mouth.
De Palma. Thank you. Sorry.
So I introduced the bill by request and because of the desperate need of substitute teachers, and a lot of the times retirees come back and sub, and this would allow them to sub for greater days. And this was an issue prior to the pandemic, so it's exacerbated since then, and I think it will continue even as we return to normalcy. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Lawson, for your testimony of the legislation today. Does any members of the committee have any questions or comment for Senator Lawson? That being none, I'd like to say that we have received written testimony from the General Treasurer's Office in support of this legislation, and that would conclude the testimony for this piece of legislation, so I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion to hold made by
Second.
Senator Gallo, seconded by Senator Quesada and De Palma. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano,
Yes.
Senator Gallo,
Yes.
Senator Quesada,
Yes.
Senator De Palma,
Yes.
Senator Paulino,
Yes.
Senator Pearson,
Yes.
Senator Seveny.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 7 in the affirmative.
And the bill had moved for further study. At this time, I'd like to go to the beginning of the agenda and Senate Bill number 32 by Senator Seveny, an act related to education, student privacy on school-owned technology. And Senator Seveny, you are up.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill is trying to address some of the concerns that have arisen over the past the past year, especially with all of the remote learning that has gone on. And it basically has 4 components to it. Restrictions and constraints on third-party access to a student computer in terms of the video and audio connections. Also, constraints on location tracking of the asset. And oh, by the way, just to make sure I'm clear, this is about school or LEA-owned IT resources that are provided to students for use for educational purposes, be it at home or wherever outside of the school environment. Other portions of the bill involve procedures for parental opt-in for use of the computer and constraints on what can be done with it by third parties like the Education Authority. And the last part of it is control over the third-party access to the data that's developed by the student on this borrowed asset. We've made some good headway with the bill language, but there are still some items that need to be worked over a little bit, principally in the area of the procedures for how parents opt in or opt out, and also the data access, how to constrain that, how to make sure the right people are getting access, where it's in the interests of the students. We're still working through that. The ACLU has some proposed language, so does the Rhode Island Superintendents Association. So I'm working with them. So the bill isn't quite ready. Madam Chair, I'll certainly notify you as soon as we've got a sub A that everybody can agree with and get it back on your docket. So that's it. I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Senator Savani. At this time, does any members of the committee have any questions or comments for Senator Savani? That being none, we do have two people that have signed up to testify on this bill. The first person is Jeremy Taylor from the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District in opposition of the bill. Jeremy, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you. Chairman Cano, other distinguished members of the committee, thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jeremy Taylor. I'm the Tech Director at Exeter West Greenwich, and I'm on the board at RISD. I implore the committee to re-examine the issues and draw different conclusions for the target of this legislation. The legislation, as introduced, has many issues that must be addressed prior to passage. I'd like to speak to some of the issues raised by this legislation. First, school districts provide devices to students in order for them to complete their schoolwork. They're not personal devices. I don't believe that school districts spying on students is an extensive problem, and it doesn't warrant that type of legislative response. As written, the bill would completely derail one-to-one initiatives in schools statewide. We need to teach our students how to responsibly and effectively use technology. To not do so would be a disservice to them and to their communities. I sometimes hear concerns about student Google accounts, but when I explain to parents that K-12 accounts are not the same as the regular consumer accounts and they have additional protections, those concerns are usually alleviated. Allowing parents to opt out might require different curriculum for those students, different computing devices that are costlier and to procure and to manage, and would be a significant burden. We all agree that Rhode Island school districts should have clear, concise policies around student devices. I would point to the success of Chapter 1621.6, Internet Filtering in Schools, that requires the adoption of policy to address the concerns of lawmakers, and I would encourage legislation along those same lines. Those policies might cover restricting remote access to student devices and the ways that information like precise location data can be used, but school districts still need the ability to locate devices that are lost or stolen, help parents locate missing children, and deal with immediate threats to life and safety. I would support legislation that compelled software vendors to sign a student data protection agreement. Many school districts have joined the Rhode Island Student Privacy Alliance with the goal of ensuring all our software vendors protect our students' data by signing a DPA. I would even support restrictions on the use of technologies that monitor student device activity outside the school day, so long as responsibility for doing so is also eliminated. I've presented these arguments in much more detail in my written testimony. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your testimony today. We really appreciate you taking the time. And as you noted, we have received your written testimony with much more details. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions from members of the committee.
Madam Chair, I would just make a quick response to this gentleman's concerns that many of the issues he's brought up, we are trying to deal with, and I'm fine with much of what he said as long as the privacy of the individual student remains at the top of the heap, no matter what we do. So there's still work to be done, and certainly, inputs like this are welcome into this process. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Savani. And again, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for taking the time. At this time, I'd like to welcome the next person that has signed up to testify on Senate Bill 32, and that's Hannah Stern from the ACLU of Rhode Island. Hannah, welcome to Senate Education Committee.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for your time this evening. My name is Hannah Stern. I'm testifying on behalf of the ACLU of Rhode Island in very strong support of this legislation. And we'd also just like to thank Senator Savani for his support and sponsorship of this really critical issue. Student privacy protections on school devices is an issue that the ACLU has been working on and advocating on for several years. And we've actually released, just in the last 4 years, 2 reports on this issue through our organization. This is a concern which has also been recently very rightly been the subject of a lot of public attention and scrutiny. I can tell you from my personal experience that our organization has received countless emails from parents all over the state, especially during the course of virtual learning, who have very legitimate concerns about how their students' privacy is being protected while their student needs to complete their classwork virtually. And unfortunately, what we've had to keep telling them is that there is no statutory protection for their students. There's no guidance in state law which legally provides protections to either the student or the families in this arena. And this is, of course, very understandably concerning for these families, especially because in this case, families can only rely on the policies that are being put in place by each individual district, which do vary in their explicit protections and which vary in their specificity. So just to give the committee one example, we actually went through every single district's privacy policy for these school-owned devices to see if they restricted the ability for schools to remotely access the camera or microphone of the device. Out of all districts in Rhode Island, 67% of districts in their policies did not restrict this ability. And I also actually went through the specific districts for the members on this committee, and 71% of the districts that this committee represents also do not restrict the ability for a school or a district to remotely access the camera or microphone on a school-owned device. So this would be one issue that the legislation would solve, and we really think it would just give families and students peace of mind on this potentially incredibly invasive circumstance. This is really just an important piece of proactive policy overall. So we recognize protecting student tech privacy is a very vast issue. It has a tremendous capacity for invasiveness and harm, and because of this, we believe it really necessitates strong statutory policy. We know that this would ease the burdens of parents and families and students. We hear from them all the time on this exact issue, and we really urge the committee to pass this bill and also help make Rhode Island a leader in student privacy issues. So I'll leave my testimony at that. Thank you very much for your time. I'd be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for your testimony today. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions from the committee. That being none, I also like to note that you have, your organization has submitted support written testimony as well. And that has complete our testimony for Bill number 32 today. And as it was stated by Senator Savani, we are working in making this bill better. So, Senator Savani, I entertain a motion to hold.
Yes, ma'am. Move to hold.
Senator Savani, move to hold, and seconded by Senator DePalma. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson? Senator Savani?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
And the bill has been held for further study. At this time, I'd like to welcome Senator Gallo with Senate Bill 284, an act related to education, career, and technical education. Senator Gallo. We can hear you, Senator Gallo.
Sorry.
That's good.
I forgot. Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill would establish a group to develop a tuition formula for schools sending students to technical programs. At this point, there is not a formula, and there's quite a bit of confusion. There's different prices all over the place. So this would help to regulate it and get it in better shape.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Gallo. At this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the committee have any questions or comments for Senator Gallo.
Madam Chair?
Senator DePalma.
Thank you. So, Senator Gallo, thanks for bringing this forward. It's sorely needed, and it's been needed for a long time. So, hopefully, we'll get it over the goal line.
Thank you, Senator DePalma, and thank you, Senator Gallo, for this great piece of legislation. Any other members of the committee have any questions, comments? That being known, we haven't received any one to testify for this bill, and I'd like to entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold made by Senator Gallo, seconded by Senator Savigny and Paulino. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson? Senator Savigny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
And the bill has been held for further study. Next item in the agenda is Senate Bill 756 by myself, an act related to education, the Education Equity and Property Tax Relief Act. And this bill is very important, which provides local education agencies hiring site-based specialists for reading and math to receive a state reimbursement based on enrollment and a specific guidance. Math and English language arts are 2 core subjects in education, and it is time to provide our districts with the resources they need to help make sure all of our students are successful. This bill will provide a state support to help school districts hire new reading and math specialists. After taking federal funds or state and local grants into consideration, the state will reimburse the school districts for half of the cost of salaries and benefits for these new positions for 3 years after the specialist is hired. The length of time for the reimbursement is not the next 3 fiscal years because we understand that it might be challenging to find these specialists. Allowing the reimbursement to start after the specialist is hired and will give the districts the time to find the right candidates without worrying that the reimbursement will expire before they can use it. At this time, I'd like to welcome any questions by members of the committee or comments. Senator Gallo.
Madam Chair, I just want to compliment you on this wonderful piece of legislation. Having worked in schools that had specialists in math, math literacy and reading literacy teachers, it really does make a difference. And right now they're only allowed in Title I schools. And I have seen the difference that they can make, and I would strongly encourage that if we can find the money for this, that the money spent would save money in the long run, keeping children out of special ed and getting them the help that they need. So thank you for putting this legislation forward.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Gallo. We really appreciate it, and you're right. I think that it should be an investment, and to make sure that we allowed, our districts to really invest in these math and English specialists. So, any other members of the committee have any questions or comments? That being none, we do have written testimony on this legislation, but also we do have one person that have signed up, and that's James Parisi from the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals in support of the legislation. James, welcome to Senate Education.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for introducing this important bill. The Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals fully supports this bill for a variety of different reasons. This bill is a funding incentive. It's not a mandate. It doesn't force school districts to hire staff who can be, filling the role of reading specialist or math specialist, but it gives them the choice, but it's a funding incentive. And the state's not paying the full cost. They're only picking up half the cost for a limited period of time, for 3 years. But we think a funding incentive to get districts to do hiring that's going to benefit students is a good thing. This is the type of education bill that is universal. It impacts every single school district and an opportunity for all school districts to participate in this funding opportunity. This bill is not about the select few, but it's a universal approach to improving education statewide, and we think that's a great approach. We think this bill is particularly timely. Expanding specialists while the state is poised to roll out its new curriculum and its new model curriculum and curriculum materials, this is the right time to do it. If we're gonna need specialists, this is the time that we need them, when the state is rolling out these new curriculum materials. So we think the bill is particularly timely. And finally, the bill contains some staffing ratios, which we think are beneficial. Staffing ratios encourage districts to hire enough staff to provide a quality education program. Quite honestly, the BEP lacks a whole lot of staffing ratios, not only for reading specialists and math specialists, but other teaching professionals as well. There was actually less staffing focus based on the last time the BEP was revised in 2009. So the General Assembly taking a look at staffing ratios as a way to ensure that students are receiving enough staff to provide a quality education program is a good direction to take. So for those reasons and others, we support the bill, and the final comment would be, I don't know what flexibility the state is going to have to utilize the federal money available in response to the pandemic, but short time incentives to provide enough staff to get school districts up to speed on certain programs, we think is a great way to spend the federal dollars, just like I said last week when we were talking about mental health providers. So I appreciate the time, and if there are any questions, I'd endeavor to answer them.
Thank you so much, Jim, for your testimony today and the support of this legislation. Does any member of the committee have a question or comment for Jim? That being none, I also like to say that this concludes the public testimony, but I'd like to note for the members of the public that we also received written testimony from Rhode Island's Kids Count on support of this legislation.
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold made by Senator De Palma, seconded by Senator Gallo. Can you please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada? Senator De Palma?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
And the bill had been moved to held for further study. At this time, next item in the agenda is Senate Bill 824 by myself, and it's an act related to education. Federal aid requires free lunches to be provided for all elementary and secondary students attending public schools to the extent the state and federal funds are available. This bill is pretty important for communities that have low income and underserved students. But also, I believe that for Rhode Island to be able to implement, I'm not sure if you remember, but when I was in the city council, it's been like probably 3 or 4 years ago. Across the state, there was a pretty sad part of some districts needed to collect some lunch debt and were doing lunch shaming on the students. Well, lunch shaming disproportionately really affect marginalized family and goes beyond just hurting a student's self-esteem. But missing meals hinders children's developmental and their success. And for many low-income students, lunch might be their only meal of the day. I remember that at that time, the city council and some, school committees and local organizations were really doing, fundraisers to try to cover the lunch debt in the districts. But it was pretty particularly sad for me to see the pain of the parents that weren't able to really catch up, and the students receiving peanut butter or sandwich instead of getting the regular lunch. I'd like to also say that I have been pretty fortunate to partner with Rep. Marcia Ranlin on the House since I came to the legislation, and she has stated this week in one of her social media posts that food is a basic human right. She said, "I am so happy to see that students in the United States will eat free lunches through the years of 2021 and 2022. It is for us to lead and make ending lunch shaming permanent." And the reason why she did say that is because the United States Department of Agriculture announced in April 2021, which was last week, that they would extend universal free lunch in an effort to reach more of the estimated 12 million youth experiencing food insecurity. In March, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said that they would provide waivers which made school meals more flexible to administer, and they would extend it only to September 30th. But last week, they say that they would do it until 2022, leaving schools and families with more predictability of what they could be, after this is ending. Child nutrition programs are very important. And as I said before, I think that we should make it a priority. And I just want to say that, as Rep. Renlin had mentioned, I think that we should be the leading state that make these school lunching shaming, legislation to end it permanent beyond 2022. With that, I'd like to take any questions or comments for committee members at this time. That being none, I want to just state that we do have someone that has signed up in support of the legislation, and that is David Bellis from the Rhode Island Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty, in support of the legislation, but Ms. Clark has said that he hasn't been able to get to the phone, so we'll try again in a couple minutes while I tell the members of the committee and the public that we also have received written testimony on support of this legislation from the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals. We also received a resolution that they have passed. We also have received support from Rhode Island Kids Count in this legislation, and they have been able to provide the committee members with the brief of the Child Hungry in Rhode Island report from December 2020, and that is it for written testimony. So we're going to try again to see if we could get in touch with David Bellis. 1 second. So unfortunately, we weren't able to connect with David Bellis from the Rhode Island Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty, but I'd like to say that he has signed up in support of this legislation. At this time, I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold made by Senator DePalma, seconded by Senator Gallo and Quesada. Can you please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada,
Yes.
Senator De Palma,
Yes?
Senator Paulino,
Yes.
Senator Seveny.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
And the bill has been moved for further study. Next item in the agenda is Senate Bill 825 by myself and are related to education. Education Equality Community Schools Act, which provides financial support for the planning and implementation of effective community schools that equip students with equitable access to high-quality education. I'd like to say that this bill is particularly important for the state, as Pawtucket has been, the city of Pawtucket, which is the city that I represent, has been a pilot program for community schools. And one of the schools that actually does that pilot program, actually 2 of the schools, is Henry Winters and Agnes Little. I was able to see the wrap-around services that community schools actually do to build the trust of parents and going above and beyond and building, partnerships with private institutions, community-based organizations, just to make sure that they actually support the students. And I just want to say thank you for choosing Pawtucket to make sure that Pawtucket was well around, equipped with these resources to make sure that they, the students will benefit from it and their families. I like to say that Pawtucket has been a lucky community with this program, but we love to see this statewide. And that's why I think I was very excited to sponsor this legislation, and I have done so for the last 3 years. And I'd like to entertain any questions from members of the committee at this time. That being known, we do actually have 2 people that have signed up to testify in support of this legislation. And the first person is Frank Flynn from the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers in support. Mr. Flynn, how are you, and welcome to the Education Committee.
I'm well. Thank you so much, Senator Cano. My name is Frank Flynn, the president of Rhode Island Federation of Teachers. Thank you to the committee. I know it's getting late, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. But this is a very important initiative. There are many quality programs throughout the state right now that provide students access to educational, cultural, health and wellness, and recreational activities outside of their normal school day and school year. And this issue is particularly important, more important now actually than ever, due to the disruptions of normalcy created by the pandemic. Fortunately, the federal government, through the American Recovery Act, has allocated significant resources to our state to provide the necessary funding for these programs to flourish. This bill highlights one of those particular programs that I want to bring to your attention and ask you to support going forward. Over the past several years, there has been a movement across this country to create a network of community schools. And community schools are a strategic partnership between the schools, the families, and the community partners to reduce barriers and provide support to ensure student success. They are designed to meet the unique needs of each individual school based on input and data specific to that school. For the past 5 years, the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals, along with the AFT, have been proud to support a community schools partnership between the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance and the Pawtucket School Department. This labor management partnership has organized and engaged a variety of stakeholders and resources and provides an array of opportunities and pathways for students and their families. Beginning in 2018, the Agnes Little School, and then expanding to the Henry Winter School, and now the Fallon Elementary School, have instituted community school initiatives, and they have flourished. And the key component to a community school is a coordinator who coordinates with the principal and the staff to identify the specific needs and establish programs, activities, and supports which address barriers to success both in and out of the classrooms. We know that principals have a very complex and sometimes overwhelming job these days, and having an on-site coordinator whose specific role is dedicated to managing these projects is instrumental to the success of these programs. These schools have already shown significant success in improving student attendance, academic performance, parent engagement and collaboration. And there's going to be a speaker shortly who's actually one of the coordinators of these programs that's going to give you specific data. But I just want to highlight some of the things that I've witnessed to some of the successes. With respect to academic support, they create family book clubs, story hours in both English and Spanish, performance arts, STEAM education programs, emotional and social support, such as mentoring, conflict resolution, anti-bullying programs, family engagement, homework diners, volunteer activities, adult workshops, food drive, community service projects. And one of the things that's critically important that they do a great job with is improving student attendance, because they know if kids aren't in school, they're not going to be successful. And things such as a walking school bus, which has been greatly successful, and creating a school attendance team with quarterly incentives for students to get them motivated to make sure that they come to school, and health and wellness issues, things such as nutrition and cooking programs, swim, karate, yoga, before school fitness, dental and vision screenings, and a host of other great activities. This bill is going to provide some seed money to help defray the startup costs, including the salary of the coordinator, for at least 4 additional schools in the state. It's asking for $300,000 in fiscal year 22, which would be $75,000 for 4 schools, and increasing to $600,000 in fiscal year 2023. This is an exciting initiative, and we believe that it is a model which has already shown much success in Rhode Island and throughout the nation, and passage of this bill will allow additional schools to implement this program. And while we would hope that we get a greater amount of money, we think it's a reasonable first step forward. And hopefully this will be the day, there will become a day when all schools will be community schools, and we urge you to pass this bill. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Flynn, for your commitment. And on behalf of myself, that has been, pretty impressed by the community schools program in my district. I just like to say thank you to, again, for the commitment and for the impact. Like, honestly, you have created trust and that opportunity for students that otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity. I was able to do the walking school bus, and it was a pretty fun way of connecting with families and making sure that the students were safe to get to school. So really, really appreciate it. Any members of the committee have any questions or comments for Mr. Flynn? That being none, thank you so much for calling in today.
Thank you.
The next person that has signed up to testify in support is Emily Malossi from the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance in support of the legislation. Emily, welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. I am a community school coordinator in the Pawtucket School Department, a member of the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance, and the project manager of Pawtucket's Community School Initiative. I was hired in 2017 when a collaborative project between the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance and the school department came to fruition to transform an elementary school into a full-service community school with startup seed money from the American Federation of Teachers and a match from district funding. Over the past 4 years, we have grown to 3 community schools in Pawtucket at the elementary level. In my humble opinion, community schools are exactly what Rhode Island's education system needs and what the students of Rhode Island need, and they needed it yesterday. Community schools are a way to lift up not only schools, but entire communities. It is a way to invest, recognize, and respect the strength and resources already found in a school and in the community, and make them work smarter, not harder. This model is an effective, equity-based school improvement strategy and uses a unique framework that can suit any community. The community school coordinator is a crucial piece needed in order for a community school to be done with fidelity. This person has a uniquely flexible position solely focused on the community school and serves as the connective tissue between the community and the school, helping to bridge gaps and leverage resources. In fact, the return on investment for a community school coordinator is $7.11 brought into the school for every $1 spent on that position's salary. The community schools closely examine data and work to close the gaps of service for students of all races, abilities, genders, and socioeconomic statuses. If there was ever a program to invest in our public schools, this would be it. Community schools have 4 pillars: integrated support services, community and family engagement, collaborative leadership, and extended or enriched learning opportunities. Integrated student support means coordinated school-based services to support both the academic and non-academic barriers to student achievement. Examples include mentoring, tutoring, food banks, clothing pantries, extended health and mental health services, and even financial literacy workshops for parents. These services are available right in the school or accessed through the school, making it a one-stop shop for families navigating their well-being. We know that factors like trauma, poverty, poor mental health, homelessness, hunger, and lack of community connections have detrimental impacts to student academic achievement. And so it just makes sense that schools have a responsibility to support students with these factors. Integrating these services right in schools increases the likelihood of them being utilized, minimizes students' time out of school to access them, makes follow-up care easier, leverages resources between community partners and schools, and is a true community-based approach for coordinated care. The community school model provides a framework to manage these services, and the constant communication and collaboration needed is done by the community school coordinator. At the school I work at, we have over 75 community partners offering services and programs. An example of this would be that my school partnered with a local optometrist who conducted on-site eye exams for our students. They determined the prescription right at our school and delivered the eyeglasses to students right to our school and to just be sent home with students. So this was a service our school nurse wouldn't have normally covered in any other year, and the student didn't miss any school, and they can now see better, which might also increase their academic performance if they couldn't see the board or the letters in a book before. Over the last 3 years, the number of students with 10 or more unexcused absences decreased by 12% after just our first year of a community school. Community schools offer expanded and enriched learning opportunities. Students at my community school partake in service learning and leadership development programming. They learn about their environment. They conduct theater performances coached by local artists. They attend the ballet every year. They learn yoga as a social-emotional learning strategy. Our older students take violin lessons in our building taught by classically trained professional musicians. Our students meet community members and learn about their careers. They learn about money management starting in kindergarten. Parents of our students can keep their job longer or pick up extra shifts at work because they can drop their kids off at our school building before school even starts for our morning fitness program. These experiences make kids lifelong learners who are excited to enter their school building every day. They provide outlets, make all students feel included and part of something, and bring joy to our school building. Last spring on our survey works, parents and guardians and teachers rated our school climate 14% more favorable and 11% more favorable than the average of all other Rhode Island schools. When the greater community is included in their local school, they become invested in the well-being of their schools and the students they serve. Raising and educating children becomes a community effort where everyone is accountable for their success. Parent and teacher relationships improve, and parents are more prepared to support their child's academics. 80% of parents at my school say they help their child understand content they are learning in school, compared to the Rhode Island average of 57%. We also have an 80% parent-teacher conference rate every year. All of the components of a community school support academic achievement for students either directly or indirectly. At my community school, reading proficiency for students in grades 3 to 5 increased by 9.24% from 2016 to 2019, and math proficiency increased 10.6% from the same time. Community schools can and should be implemented widely around Rhode Island, just as other states have adopted this model. There is plenty of national research and evidence that proves they are effective in improving school attendance, graduation rates, academic achievement, family engagement, and even youth health and wellness outcomes. This bill would provide funding for districts to hire a community school coordinator to start or grow their community school model. This is an investment that our students deserve, and I urge this committee to support this legislation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emily, for your testimony and everything that you do every day to make sure that our Pawtucket students are successful, their families really trusted, and for the collaboration and making sure that you reach out to so many of the partners that are been willing to provide this opportunity for our students. Community schools, like you said, are really a powerful equity strategy because you use equity-based programs, and there have been amazing results in the impact in our students in Pawtucket. I really want to say thank you on behalf of myself, to the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance and all the AFT and all the partners, like we had, listened from them before, the Rhode Island Federation of Teachers. Really appreciate all that you have done already for Pawtucket, and we hope that we can expand it to other districts in Rhode Island. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions for any members of the committee. There being none, thank you so much, Emily. Have a great night.
Thank you.
That will conclude the testimony for Senate Bill 825. I'd like to mention also that we have received supported testimony from the Rhode Island Kids Council as well, in the form of written testimony. At this time, I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold made by Senator Savani and De Palma, seconded by Senator Quesada. Can I please call the roll?
Chairperson Cano?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator De Palma?
Yes?
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Savani?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
And the bill has been moved to held for further study. This will conclude our agenda for today. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn made by Senator Gallo, seconded by Senator Palma and Savani. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Have a great